Alright, well, let's read our diary entry, shall we? Hannah met Zachary Steele, a freelance photographer from Luxury Living, an interior design magazine. Zachary was tasked to interview Hannah and to take pictures of the mansion and its new owners. What should have been a professional meeting ended up being friendly and perhaps too personal. So that's our little recap from last time. Entering the dining hall causes me so much confusion. It is dark. For a moment I thought the electric work is not up to par. But that clearly is not the case, as every other room is bright with artificial light. Finding the light switch is a monumental task, considering the size and my unfamiliarity with the room. To make matters worse, the darkness grants the room a different atmosphere, eerie and frightening. It takes longer than I thought to find the switch, something that will have to be rectified later on. My skin starts to prickle, and there is the distinct feeling of being watched. It unsettles me and only spurs me on in my search. And when I do open the lights, there is a hiss.
I'll turn the lights down, woman!
Woman! There, at the end of the hall, is my beloved husband, with his face in one hand and a glass in the other. Perhaps I can let it go if it's only one glass of wine. However, I can feel myself go livid after seeing the toxic green liquid gleam mockingly at me.
Luke, what? Are you drinking absinthe? You know what the doctor said. Absinthe, Luke. Are you actively trying to kill yourself? Because if you are, we can just hit you with a bloody car.
Honeybee, Buttercup, not too loud, please. Besides, it's Lelouch, not too strong. Just hair of the dog that bit me. Helps with the hangover, dearest.
You drank? When?
This morning, love. Don't be mad. I just needed a few drinks, having to deal with those simpletons. And maybe I had one too much. You don't see me whinging about you leaving me to handle them on my own.
I had to attend the photo shoot and interview with Luxury Living. You know that. Let's not make this about me, Luke.
This is about you and your drinking problem.
This is about you and your drinking problem and...
Knew it.
Oh, I don't know, Hannah, darling. What if my drinking problem, as you like to call it, is linked to you?
Wow, I can't believe.
If we think about it that way, this discussion is about you. That was pretty mean of you, leaving me alone to do all the work like that. You can't use the interview as an excuse either, honey. I was informed the moment your little interview was done. So, what was it then, What were you doing?
What's it gonna be? Should I tell the truth or tell a little lie? Well, Luke, I need to tell you the truth. So you hate me for it.
I was talking with Zachary, the photographer for Luxury Living.
Eek. I have no reason to tell lies. It's not like I am guilty of anything. But as Luke's expression turns, he makes me feel like I actually am to blame for something. He has a way of making me laid bare with just a look. That had really struck me when we first met years ago.
That giant Negro?
Rude.
You were having a secret meeting behind my back and it was with him?
Very rude.
What are you implying?
I'm implying nothing.
That you're a bastard.
I'm just worried. You know better than to trust those media types, Buttercup. He must have been really friendly to occupy your time like that. But all he's looking for is his next big headline.
He's a photographer for an interior design magazine.
Doesn't matter. You let one little thing slip, one wrong move, and it'll blow up in the telly in the morning. He'll go to his journalist friends to gossip and make a quick quid.
His eyes were the first thing I noticed about him. They were like nature, the grass and the trees, wonderful and breathtaking. Now as I look at him, they're nothing but the same shade of green as the bloody damn drink in his hand.
He was a perfect gentleman, Luke. I can't say the same for you as of recent.
Excuse me again? We're talking about you, Hannah.
No. I am pretty sure we were talking about you and your drinking problem, Luke, right?
Hangover forgotten during the course of this little spat, the man jumps to his feet and seethes. It looks like he is barely stopping himself from throwing the nearest thing he can find.
Oh, it is not a problem. I can stop whenever I want. And even if it was, I think you can very well stay out of it, as it only affects my own kidneys or liver or whatever the bloody hell that shite pollutes.
Pancreas. That's the organ you're looking for.
Whatever aftermath that occurs because of your little chit-chat with the Negro affects the both of us, however.
Look, Luke. Nothing will happen. You have to relax. It was just a friendly chat.
Well, now I think I'm getting jealous. Or I would be if it weren't for this damn headache.
Maybe you should drink more.
Maybe.
Supper is spent in silence, with nothing but the occasional sound of silverware. A grand feast has been served. Well, grander than usual anyway, most likely due to Luke's complaints of stress. Quotation marks. A platter of native oysters for starters, and tranche of turbot with purple sprouting broccoli, lemon, capers, and anchovy sauce for mains. To finish it all off, black tea and golden syrup sponge pudding with custard. That pudding is perfect. But when our appetites are appeased and the plates are cleared away, Luke stands, kisses me goodnight, and leaves me to stare at my half-empty cup. Lonely in the lull of night, I sit in a house too big and too empty, foreign and unwelcoming. Even with its warm tone and homely decor, it feels cold. There is no need for tears, however. I know I can get through this like every other obstacle I have faced before. This is a minor setback in what I hope will be a long and happy life. To remind myself that this place is for Luke and our future children fills me with a renewed vigor. Besides, it looks like someone is having a cry already. The wailing is far away and muffled. Yet at the same time it shakes me to my very core as I hear it, as if the suffering is just standing right beside me. Hearing it sends a chill down my spine and makes my skin prickle with goosebumps. Who is that? Better investigate. During supper, Hannah found Luke drinking absinthe, and this caused an argument. While Hannah was angered by her husband's drinking problem, Luke was suspicious of his wife's activities, having not seen her the whole afternoon despite finishing Luxury Living's interview early. Then there was this crying woman. Curiosity sinks in as I follow the sorrowful sound into the kitchen and into the wine cellar hatch.
Hello? Is anybody down there?
I am curious and concerned, but there is no way I am going down into a dark and humid underground. I'm not as enthusiastic as Luke, who considers himself quite the connoisseur. However, I also cannot bring myself to go to bed with this racket going on. If it is one of the household help, they will surely need some talking. After all, this wouldn't be the first time I've gone and found one of the maids sobbing their eyes out over one thing or another. As professional as our staff are, they are still human. More often than not, it was either Johannes or I who'd calm them down, who'd help them figure out how to go on about things. Unfortunately, I am not in high spirits right now, so I'm not as wholly benevolent. So I will... Well, Hannah, you are not going to be possessed this time. I knock 3 times. Waiting for any sort of reply yields me no results, and I've already touched the floor hatch far too many times than what I'd like. I take a deep breath before reaching out again to whoever's inside. I've learned from experience that people respond better to kindness than threats. Shouting angrily would not help in coaxing them out.
You, in the cellar, do come out. We don't want Luke waking up and finding you in there, do we? That man would go ballistic thinking someone was trying to steal his precious wine.
Still nothing.
You can have a good cry. Just not in there, yes? Why don't you come out here and we can have a cuppa and you can tell me all about whatever it is you're bawling about?
With how long I am standing here, however, I'm starting to think myself as a fool. I did not want to acknowledge the other feeling I have, especially as the wailing took an eerie turn. The thought of being played with didn't sit too well with me, and I had to stop myself from getting too hot-headed as I try one more time.
Now you come out of there! That is an order from the lady of the house, do you hear me? Why, I ought to...
I freeze as a hand clamps down on my shoulder. The dread I've been feeling all this time makes itself known as I kneel, unmoving, not even daring to breathe. I can feel my heart pounding against my chest. But the touch is gone as quickly as it had seized me. It is only Johannes I see when I look back.
Apologies, madam, for touching you like that. You were not responding to my voice, and you looked about ready to wake the whole mansion up.
I'm sorry. I was getting rather loud, wasn't I? But that crying woman in there, we must do something about her.
He grows silent for a moment and just looks concerned. At least I'd like to interpret it as concern, given how stoic our head butler usually is. Or rather, it must have been concern, as he takes off a glove and presses the back of his hand at my forehead before his worrisome inquiry.
I beg your pardon. What crying woman? Are you feeling well, madam?
In the cellar. Can't you hear her?
Madam, Hannah, no one is down there.
Hannah?
What?
The cellar is locked. Only Luke and I have duplicates of the keys. Nobody is down there.
I stare at him in disbelief. But when I listen once more, I hear no crying. Tugging at the hatch for good measure prove his words to be true, too. The thing won't budge unless I had a key, short of using power tools on it.
Perhaps it is time for you to go to bed, madam. You are simply tired and hearing things, a perfectly normal human experience. But if you are still experiencing auditory hallucinations in the morning, you are free to consult with me.
There is a cold feeling in the pit of my stomach as he helps me up to my feet. What he says makes sense, and who am I to question someone who used to be a doctor? I am just tired, that's it. Long day of moving, the interview, dealing with Luke. That has all drained me of any proper sense.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I just need some sleep, that's all.
Of course I'm right. Go on then. Gute Nacht.
Good night, Johannes. Good night, house.
Good night, ghost in the house. It's just fatigue. That's what I keep telling myself, although I can't ignore the strange feeling in my gut. Either there is something wrong with this house, or there is something wrong with my head. Sleep will be elusive tonight. Methinks. Luke is already gone by the time I rise. There isn't a single hide nor hair of him to be found, and trying to call him on his mobile is a bust, as it only goes straight to his voicemail. That's twice in a row he's gone on me. And for him to disappear today, of all days, is every bit upsetting because of what's to come. The morning is once again filled with a whirlwind of activity. Fortunately, I am much more refreshed as I took a break from my responsibilities. I haven't the faintest clue where Luke was yesterday. Today is going to be a busy day, although unlike Wednesday, the master of the house isn't here right now, absent once again from his duties. Hopefully he'll be back in time for the party. This is our house, after all. A grand housewarming party for the wonderful Wright mansion. Every person of importance from Luxburn is invited, and there will be a few guests flying in as well. Of course, there will be some people from the media, along with friends and acquaintances who are made no less important, regardless of their status in society. Marianne and I discuss business and last-minute touches to the house before finalizing everything. Not that there is much change from our original plans. Bar any huge additions to the property itself, the mansion is nearly 100% complete.
You have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Well, I can't take all of the credit. People have certainly been enthusiastic about the idea of working on the Wright mansion. There won't be any more problems unless Mr. Wright has any more objections about the second bedroom.
Luke and I had a small tiff about making the second bedroom into a child's playroom, which I insisted is completely practical. In the end, he had to acquiesce. I didn't give him any choice in the matter. I even bought this wonderful wooden crib from the antique store yesterday, including some toys. Just in case anyone brings their baby. Of course. Besides, we have little need for actual guest rooms. We hardly have guests who spend the night. If we absolutely have to, we often choose to foot the bill for their visit on one of our hotels instead. Always at Luke's own insistence. And on the off chance that we actually let someone stay, the bedroom in the opposite wing is still up to the task.
Oh, no. We proceed with that room as planned. I already agreed to him having his greenhouse and his vineyard and his stables. He may as well let me have this one thing.
But what about the helicopter pad? No, I did not agree to him having a helipad.
All right, then. Well, do we have any other concerns? Anything we need to put on our agenda before the party commences?
No, I don't think so. Not unless Luke has anything else to say.
Is he around then? It'd be best if we can note down his requests right away, considering the scope of his usual ones.
Around? No. Where is he? Who knows where? I don't.
No, he's not around.
She didn't have to point out the obvious now, did she? After 7 long years, I'd already gotten used to him. I should be by now. Still not, apparently.
But don't you have a party?
I want nothing more than to complain, to whinge about how unfair this is. However, airing out one's dirty laundry is simply taboo among high society. To do so will make you a ripe target for the next dinner party chit-chat. Vultures, the lot of them, really. Or most of them, at least. There are always good ones, like Rochelle Lee. But put your trust in the wrong person and you'll find yourself eagerly picked apart.
Yes. But Luke's just being a sweetie, you see. That friend he's visiting. He's having marital problems and he's just trying to cheer him up.
Perhaps I am being a bit too rash, a bit too hot-headed in divulging details. But I thought myself clever with the plan to dress it up as gossip. Mary Ann's raised brow make me unsure whether she is interested or not. Although that does make things better if she has no interest, and therefore has no hidden intent to utilize whatever I might say to her.
They've been married for a long time and they've hit a... how do they say it? A rough patch. His wife has a drinking problem and can be very neglectful. The poor thing really does his best to be a good husband, but it's never enough for her. Sometimes I think it's the years. Maybe it's been so long that they've lost that romantic spark. What do you think?
You were asking for my personal opinion on the matter, ma'am? Do you want me to be honest, or...
Do I want her to be honest? Well... sure. Be honest with me, girl.
Be honest with me, Marianne. I don't need someone to sugarcoat it.
There we go.
I'm not some fragile thing that I'm just going to break down at the slightest thing.
She hesitates, taking a sip of her coffee while I stare into my own cup of tea. The silence stretches on, and I almost believe that she will never answer my question. I suppose that I shouldn't blame her, putting her in a tight spot like this. Her hesitation is understandable, though I loathe to admit it. She simply wants this whole thing to stay professional. But then she speaks.
If I'm going to be completely honest, I need to ask. This is about you and Mr. Wright, isn't it?
It's my turn to hesitate now. I really didn't expect such a straightforward question. And to get to the heart of the matter, I suppose I'm not as clever as I'd like to think. Or is it really that bad that an outsider can see our little marital troubles? Surely we aren't that obvious, are we? We've put up the act of a perfect couple for years. Although it hadn't always been an act. Marianne is just more keen than the average person, of course. It is a necessity to her career, and she's been working so closely with us. Yes, that's it.
Suppose it is. What would you tell me?
Then, I tell you it's none of my business. I tell you that I don't want to meddle. But, if the troubled husband with the neglectful wife asked me for my honest opinion, I'd say that he shouldn't base his happiness and his self-worth on someone else. Someone who won't even give him the time of the day. Maybe he should try being independent for a while. See what it's like when he isn't trying to please someone else and doing things for himself. Everyone's supposed to be their own man or woman, right? A bit of breathing room never hurt anyone. That's just my 2 pence worth, of course.
So you're saying they should divorce?
Nothing as drastic as that. If they're afraid that it might lead to just that, then maybe that is what's meant to happen in the first place. We shouldn't let our fear control our lives. But it's just a short hiatus is all. Or, couples therapy? Look, I'm really not the best person to ask about relationships. So grain of salt and all that.
She trails off, having said her piece, and leaves nothing but the smell of coffee and Earl Grey between us. There is a calm despite the nature of what has just been discussed. To say that her words make me start to think is an understatement. To say that I'm not considering her advice is a lie. And to say that this might just be the calm before the storm is a possibility. Others have had shorter marriages, yes, but plenty have celebrated long and happy ones as well. My own parents celebrated their choral anniversary before they passed away. But 7 years. 7 years isn't a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It isn't a whole lot of time to see what and where our relationship can bring us. And at the same time, 7 years. Well, it hasn't been entirely made up of unhappy years, has it? It won't last forever. It's not supposed to, anyway. I just dread the thought that it might last for a very long time. I dread the thought that these small spats, these little disagreements, will turn into an all-out resentment. The idea that we will grow to hate each other with every fiber of our being scares me. I can't even pinpoint the exact moment when our blissful union turned sour. When did he start to seek other women, lacking any ulterior motives? When did we start to cooperate only to suit our materialistic greed and attention-seeking ways? Money and success, fame and glamour. Are those the only reasons we still stay together? There's a cough before Marianne clears her throat. I must have been quiet for so long, and I move to apologize when she stands up. We both end up on our feet, unsure on how to proceed. Some sort of odd, awkward shuffle occurs as we decide whether to sit back down or not.
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party? Oh, you really must, Marianne.
I'll try to stay and chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy, busy, busy.
You must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least. If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
We'll see. So, if I can be excused?
Certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive. Because, believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
Fun, fun, fun. Parties are so much fun. Hannah and Marianne were seen discussing the mansion's finishing touches before the housewarming party. On a whim, Hannah asked for Marianne's opinion about a certain couple having marital problems. It leaves the former with something to think about, after the latter excused herself from attending the party. The scene outside the parlor is a great, organized mess. Aside from our own household help, we hired the service of the temp agency, which provides staff for right enterprise in the hospitality sector. Even our very skilled staff cannot undertake a party of this size on their own. Waiters, busboys, hostesses, and their staff captains move about in droves, carrying crockery and serveware good for several dozen people and then some. Chefs and bartenders tail after Johans, looking like scared little children, as he escorts them through the kitchen and into the wine cellar. To peruse the stocks, to select what can be served at the party and what can be used for cooking.
Schnell! We have a lot to do, and I believe we did not hire snails. Snails are for the dishes.
A string quartet readies up to play for the evening, tuning their instruments as they fill the air with idle chatter. Floral decor worth thousands fill vases, wreaths, and baskets, while petals are scattered along the driveway up front. An ice sculpture of a reindeer is brought in carefully by a pair. It is followed by a simple cake, just a 5-tier white chiffon one with white chocolate mousse, fresh berries, and a light dusting of edible gold leaf, nothing fancy. But despite the fact that I told Marianne how I will attend to all of this, I find myself unable to focus or care for any of it. I still have our discussion running in my mind, and looking at all of this, I only see Luke everywhere. These are all the grand things that Luke wanted to have for the party. I had wanted a small, elegant, and simple gathering, with only a select few invited, namely the people who I would actually trust to enter my home. I did not want any bloody politicians or paparazzi in here, no matter how used I am to catering them.
At least be here for your party. Damn it, Luke.
The entire thing screamed Luke Wright. And I can't help but add another question to my growing list of queries. When did I lose myself? It's always about him nowadays, isn't it? What about Hannah Wright? What about Hannah Evans? I used to be my own woman, who made her own name, her own career, and her own decisions. Sure, I was already the social butterfly that I still am today, but it wasn't all empty, shallow gossip and sitting pretty. I was also lauded for my knowledge and talent. Finance manager wasn't just handed to me just because my father owned the company. I had insisted that I start at the bottom so I could work my way to the top and prove myself. And I did. I worked numbers, managed budgets, money and accounts, analyzing the competition and market trends. There was the calculation of financial risk, cost reduction opportunities, auditor liaison and public relations, supervision of staff, and... well, I generally had a huge slew of responsibilities. Admittedly, I was already quite the attention seeker even back then, having dedicated most of my youth craving for my parents' approval. Failing that, I turned to others, looked for praise from anyone who would give it, however fleeting it all was. And Luke. Oh, Luke. The way he looked at me, the way he watched me and took a genuine interest. He had me disgustingly obsessed since day one, hasn't he? He saw me for me, Hannah Evans with both my faults and my achievements. The man didn't treat me like some damsel in distress or some prize to be won. I remember the nights before we were married where we talked about everything and anything. From big things like business, society, and philosophy, to little things such as what we had for breakfast or whether we liked cats or dogs more. We both prefer dogs. Nowadays, I'm just Luke Wright's wife. It's mostly my fault, isn't it? They told me that husbands preferred wives who are docile and subordinate. A woman who will always be there for him, yet would never outshine him in all aspects except beauty. A wife needs to be at home and attend to his needs, to have children, and to take care of them in his absence. They said I have no business working anymore after I was married. I can blame society. But I listened. Before I can fall further into this introspective pit of self-loathing, someone calls for my attention.
The guests have arrived, madam.
And Luke?
Running a bit late, I'm afraid.
Late for his own party. That man, I swear. He's probably looking to make a dramatic entrance, knowing him. Open the doors, then. We mustn't tarry.
No tarrying. Cars line up the driveway, peppering the front of the mansion with vehicles of every kind. Grand tourers, supercars, even the odd high-end muscle car or two, convertibles, grand saloons, and other luxury cars can be seen being parked by valets. A handful of cabs drive off, possibly for those who thought it's too troublesome to bring their own cars. There are at least 2 different media vans as well. They're all here for what may be considered the biggest event of the year for Luxburn. So far. Who knows what we'll plan for the winter holidays?
Welcome, welcome everyone. Please, make yourselves at home.
Some of the guests idle, enjoying the warm if not strange sunshine we are experiencing, before gloomy skies inevitably return. They greet acquaintances and friends with warm smiles, others less so. From where I stand, I can see the hierarchy of power, the ties that bind these individuals here, whether through convenience or necessity. However, there are also few who are not here to further cement their current place in high society. Such as that young man with his oriental air. I forgot about that. Ignorant of the looks he receives from women and men alike.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Man from the Orient. Hannah, you kill me. Or that rose-haired woman talking on her phone while she looks unsure of why she is here exactly.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom.
Rosy-haired.
Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
I see Zachary, the photographer, as well. He talks to a few of the other media crew with an air of familiarity.
I was just here a few days ago, yeah. And the inside is huge, but the staff are pretty helpful if you get lost.
I had invited Father Norman, too. It's the least I can do after he blessed the mansion on my request. Aside from my small donation to the church, of course. But the poor man had taken ill and went through a nervous breakdown of some sort the other day. Very strange. And then there are people like the Chief Inspector. People who I can never be too sure about. People who stand on the border between being suspicious and being trustworthy.
Thank you for the invite, Anna. Husband still missing, I see.
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee.
Yes, that is rather sus, isn't it?
The doctors again.
She told me she'll just be in the gardens. I bet she's lying and that she's somewhere around mingling, gossiping with the other ladies. It's no offense, but that seems to be all you ladies do at these parties.
And aren't you gossiping right now?
Pew, 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 pew. Got him.
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
He's around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing. Don't tell me, let me guess. He's finally drunken himself to death and not wanting a scandal, you've hidden his body. I was wanting to give this housewarming gift to him personally, too. It's a plate that holds a wine glass so he can stop killing himself with liquid lunches. Looks like it's too late for that.
Nothing like that. Besides, this is a hardly polite conversation.
Oh, relax. I'm just trying to be cheeky to lighten the mood. It's not like I want Luke dead. The man doesn't serve dodgy plonk like the others when I visit, and he pays his respects well enough. I could use a glass of wine or 3, actually. Michelle's been in a horrid mood. Threw her stilettos at me the other day and almost took an eye out. Not sure if this is how it usually goes, but I blame the pregnancy.
I wouldn't know, would I?
Still no plans for a baby? Well, I guess that's for the best. If it's this bad now, I can't even imagine how bad it'll be when that little baby bump becomes huge.
Have I mentioned how I don't trust him, no matter how hard I try to do so? At least he brought a gift, I suppose.
Why don't you just go inside and have some wine, Lee?
Think I will, thanks.
Greetings such as these carry on as the guests continue to trickle in. Whether we have short conversations or merely shake hands and nod heads, I make sure to attend and welcome each of them. As the first hour passes by, the rest of the stragglers and I adjourn to the ballroom. Any latecomers will have the attention of the porter instead. I have other duties to attend to now. Hosting parties is always the same old song and dance, no matter how big or small it is. You make sure your guests are well fed, have good company, and have them generally enjoy themselves. So, when my opening remarks are done, when the band has started to play and the guests have started eating, I find myself wandering around aimlessly unless I am pulled aside. For a while, I stay with a small group and entertain them before excusing myself. And when they're not anymore watching me, I end up watching them. When they don't listen, I do. A local banker is having trouble with his daughter. He wishes to marry her off, but she wants nothing more but to make music. One of our hotel managers worry about the stolen belonging of one of his patrons, a feeling insecurity which should be brought up to higher authority soon. Our mayor... well, his cat died. Then there is that rose-haired woman once again. It is hard not to notice her with her distinctive locks. She also lacks the grace that the other ladies have, though that does not make her any less beautiful. Her stance and the air she exudes, instead, are strong, and they make her stand out despite her casual attire. Many men have already given her their attention, though each invitation to dance has been turned down. I approach intrigued, although it is no great mystery what occupies her own attention, with the glances she keeps sending towards the boy with the oriental hair. She remains unaware, though, even as I stand beside her, pretending that I am there for a drink.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
There he is. The boy comes over, but I do nothing to speak any softer. He merely passes by, and it is a wonder he doesn't hear what I say.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend then? Because that would explain those rejections.
In all my life, I have never seen a face grow red so fast. The shade of her hair did not help as well. This is the most pink I've seen on a person, really.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
It's more the latter, currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property.
Oh, murder!
I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
I waver as I feel the burning of someone's stares. It is chilling, and though I am used to enduring the gaze of others, this one makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Oh, hi. Didn't realize you were invited to this soiree. It is chilling, and though I am used to enduring the gaze of others, this one I just read that. My attention is pulled from the girl and I see a woman staring. Dark-haired and dirty, she looks more like a beggar than a guest, and I have half the mind to call the security at her when her mouth breaks out into a grin. All I hear is her laughing, taunting. Her stare makes my blood run cold. She looks at me like I am nothing but a pig to slaughter for her amusement. It makes my hand shake and I nearly drop my drink. But then in a blink she's gone and the buzz of the party returns.
I'll keep that in mind, but are you all right?
Yes, sorry. I just thought I saw something strange. It must be the trick of the light.
Or this weather, or this cold that's going around.
Anyway, on a right, as you must already know.
Rebecca Gales.
Gales.
The name is familiar, like a fond memory. I recall a kind lady, a private tutor who treated me like her own daughter when I was young. She'd even bring me food when there was no need to do so. Usually stovies, which I honestly hadn't been too keen about, though I ate them nevertheless because she brought them for me.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way. But yeah, that's me. Little Becky. We met once before.
Yes, oh, I remember you! You were the cutest little thing with glasses! And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
That is a hell of a memory.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
The more I list off names, the more red and the more quiet Becky gets. She starts to look a bit miserable as her body language shows discomfort and stiffness. Perhaps I have triggered a horrid childhood memory, or a current adult one. Surely I hadn't been mean when she visited with her mother. I don't quite remember all of it.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone within earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
And a tad bit sad.
So, this is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Please, Anna's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it. But what do I know?
Yeah, Miss 17 years. There is a grimace, although she starts to relax around my presence. How long has it been since we met as children? Certainly a long time. She was tiny back then, if I recall correctly.
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about. But have you told him how you feel? And it's been what, 20 years?
17, actually. But no, not yet. He can be a bit dense. I was hoping that maybe he'd notice on his own and...
Well, that won't do. What if you two become husband and wife? He's not to be dense when he's sworn himself to another person. Why, you might just as well consider leaving before the day's even begun.
If that happens, I'll have to give him a good ear bashing, won't I? Whoever anyone ends up with, it's not going to be a perfect relationship anyway. There's going to be things you'll love and things you'll hate about the other person. We're just humans. It's funny. Here I am, trying to give you advice when you did the very same thing back then. I remember you giving me a makeover when we were still kids. And you were the first I told anyone about my... crush.
I do remember now that she mentions it. Did I give her that yellow summer dress, or the pink blouse and petticoat? She must have kept some of what I said in mind. It feels ridiculous remembering all of that years later, talking about boys and how they go crazy for pretty girls as if it's some gospel every woman should adhere to. It was so easy to say such things then, with me not knowing any better. Though, looking at her now, she must have kept some of what I said in mind. Perhaps I did something good at that time, enough for her to take it to heart. But all that didn't matter in the moment as I mull over what she's just said in my head. What Becky told me is very different from what Marianne told me. There is no time to ponder over that, however, as a hush descends upon the once lively crowd. The music of strings and the chatter slows to a grinding halt as the doors from the foyer opens. The last of the latecomers should have arrived moments ago, and anyone else this late would simply be too embarrassed to show their face. So this can only be one person, or rather, one man. There is only one man who is audacious enough to arrive at his own party so late.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the right mansion.
Unlike I, who was raised in the spotlight and simply grew used to its presence, he sought it out every chance he could, even when there was no spotlight that shone. And I'll never put it against him when he smiles like that. He did so quite brilliantly under the scrutiny when he channels his showmanship. You can tell by the way people's eyes light up as he speaks, how they listen enraptured even if all he's doing is a simple greeting. A little wave of his hands here, a little smile there, and a bit of swagger. I always tell him that if he is not to be a businessman, he'll do well as an entertainer. I love this side of him, especially when he looks at me and he beckons me over to humbly share his place. Not a single second is wasted as I excuse myself from Becky's side and I make my way to Luke's.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are our ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
There is a round of applause, cheers, and even some hoots. Guests approach us left and right to shake Luke's hand and greet him personally, praises on their lips. It is because of this that I do not see her. I do not see her until she is dangerously close, with fury in her eyes, and she's already spitting venom. Uh-oh. Trouble in paradise. The Wright Mansion officially opened its doors with a grand housewarming feast. Zachary Steele, Ashton Frey, and Rebecca Gales were seen attending. However, what was supposed to be a day of merriment turned sour when Rochelle Lee, the chief inspector's wife, accused Luke Wright of fathering her unborn baby. Spoilers. Johans restrains her, taking care not to unnecessarily harm the pregnant woman. But that does little to deter her rage, and the man has no choice but to let her go lest an unborn child is hurt. Although it might be too late for that, as I see an emptied glass of wine in her hand. How much has she imbibed in?
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle? Perhaps you need to sit down and...
No! Shut it, you munter! I ain't talking to you! I'm talking to this scumbag over here! You bloody bastard standing there with your smarmy smile!
She interrupts me, jabbing her finger in my direction before she rounds on Luke. Even as whispers and murmurs break out among the guests, all I can focus on is the heat of the moment. Obviously intoxicated, judging by the smell of alcohol on her breath. I'm not ticked off about this little display of hers, at least not yet. But I am absolutely pissed by the fact that she'd endanger her own baby by drinking. There is a considerable amount of restraint and grace that I must exercise while I wait for her tantrum to subside. I keep a patient if tight smile on my face. Luke's expression, on the other hand, is indecipherable.
Watch your tongue! You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
I did.
And I told you with great emphasis not to. Now we have a drunk, hormonal, pregnant woman causing a stir. What is even going on?
I am just about to ask that exact same thing.
I don't know. But Rochelle, do calm down before you hurt yourself. I can't understand a word you're saying.
Where is that husband of yours? Lee! Collect your wife right now!
Don't you fucking talk like I'm not here and you're not responsible, you ass! You told me that I should wait for you in the gardens!
Excuse me? What is this nonsense you're going on about?
Crazy talk! That's all it is! Just completely and utterly mad! Has anyone seen the Chief Inspector?
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility. God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What?
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johans, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
Ugh, such a low blow. It is now that Johans returns with security, along with a concerned-looking Officer Lee. They surround her and move to escort the hysterical woman. Judging by his pale face, he has heard the whole thing, and I feel nothing but pity for the man. Not that I believe Rochelle. Luke will never... He will never go so far as to sleep with another woman, right?
I'm so sorry for her behavior. She's been under a lot of stress. And the alcohol. Talking nonsense, that's all it is. You're not allowed to drink because of the baby, Shelley. What are you thinking?
Nothing to see here, people. Move along.
Is there really nothing here but the ramblings of a drunk?
That's not true. Is it, Luke? Please tell me she's just lost the plot.
Don't be a blooming muppet, Hannah. Of course she's lying, creating a scandal for attention.
Scandal.
If the baby isn't Lee's, she's probably gotten herself knocked up by one of her employees, and she's accusing me for money. Fuck! How stupid can you be?
Excuse me. I just wanted to hear your word. There's no need for such cross language.
Yes, there is a need for such fucking crass language, because you've been nothing but a pain recently. I told you not to invite her, and look what she's done. And not just recently, for a while in fact. I'm sick and tired of having to look after your clingy, spoiled ass. You've been derailing my schedule and my plans, questioning my priorities and my decisions. You can be worse than a hormonal pregnant woman at times even. How touched in the head are you that I need to hold your hand?
Speak no more. We are done here, and we'll talk about these matters in privacy now.
No, why don't we hash it all out here? Because every time we talk about our problems in private, you start crying your fucking eyes out.
I should have expected this of Luke. To put us in the limelight, thinking I will back down because we have an audience. Well, he has another thing coming for him, doesn't he? Can you guess what ending we're on right now? I am just as livid as he is because of his disrespect. Our happy marriage is quickly crumbling under our own 2 feet, yet I can't give a rat's arse. If this is how it goes, so be it.
You dare!
I dare, Buttercup, because I've kept quiet about this.
Oh, you've kept quiet about it? How rich!
Yes!
No, I've had enough of this! Do you think I don't see when you try to creep up some whore and get up her skirt?
Go, Hannah!
You would be nothing without me. Your company would be buried in debt and you'd be begging on the streets if it weren't for me!
Get him, Hannah!
She lies! Don't listen to her!
And I've had enough of you. So guess what? Fuck you, Luke.
Woo! We stand a queen!
We agreed to never talk of this woman!
Did we? I don't remember, but it's all true. Wright Enterprise would be nothing but a precautionary tale if Evans Incorporated didn't agree to merge into a conglomerate. You asked that we keep your family name because you said it was so important to you. Your legacy. I agreed because, damn it, Luke, I loved you and I still do. But all you really want is the money and the power's all gone to your head. Face it, Lucille Mitchell Wright. You owe me everything.
Facts.
I owe you everything. I owe you everything? Who's running the business now while you sit at home like a pretty princess?
If I recall, you told me to retire so that I can enjoy my time as Mrs. Luke Wright.
I wouldn't even bother with other women if you were still Hannah Evans. You used to be your own woman. You used to be someone who I could fucking look up to. Now look at you. If I wanted some brainless bint, I'd go to the whorehouse and play any old strumpet like a fucking fiddle. That's all you are now. A brainless, good-for-nothing.
Oof. Deserved. A slap echoes in the ballroom. I didn't even realize that I've lifted my hand against him. Not until he's already clutching his reddened cheek, eyes wide and unspoken curses hanging from his lips.
That's it! This party is over!
I would say.
Everybody leave before I have you all thrown out!
There is a shuffling, as the near-forgotten audience can't decide whether they are to mill about and wait for what might happen next or do as instructed. Their minds are made up for them as Luke storms toward the doors, slams them open, and roars,
"Go!"
And as if they are awakened from a trance, the crowd starts to leave one by one. Some of the noisier ones, media and the like, try to stay, but they are eventually dragged away by security. They slowly trickle out, from the busboys and the waiters to the musicians and the bartender. Even our butler leaves us, closing the door to the ballroom shut behind him. Then and there, I didn't know what to say. Should I apologize for striking him? Yet every part of me is still shaking in anger. I want to scream every bit of hatred I have for him, every ounce of bitterness, things that I couldn't say before. But I also feel tired.
Oh, Hannah. What am I going to do with you?
He laughs. Laughs. Before I can respond, he leaves. To where? I don't know. I'll never find out, as I don't have the courage to follow him. Or leave this room. Slumping into the nearest chair, all I can see is his face, red and wide-eyed. His empty laugh echoes over and over again. Only the walls act as my audience now, and I can feel their accusing eyes burn into me. It's all over for me. There will be no sleep tonight. And unfortunately, it was our last opportunity to get any sleep. In the aftermath of Rochelle's accusations, Hannah and Luke lashed out at each other in public. Hannah slapped Luke at the end of it all, and in the resulting fit of rage, the man ordered the party to be stopped and threw their guests out. That is a really good slap. And come morning, as we breakfast, the meal is silent and strained. I cut too deeply into my sausages and almost excused myself, have I not spied Luke mashing and stirring his poached eggs with a fork like a petulant child. Conversation is terse, though that is no big surprise. What else can you say after you've verbally lashed out at each other in public? Apologies seem like trifle things now in comparison to what transpired last night. I'm not the one to rush when eating, but withdrawing sounds like the best course of action. I can leave the dining hall, hole myself up somewhere where I won't be bothered, and he has work today. I almost have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling... if he did not speak up all of a sudden.
Hannah, wait. Don't go just yet. Please.
What is it, Lucille?
I have thought upon it that perhaps I am at fault for what happened yesterday and for your frustrations. I have been a neglectful husband, and if you would still have me, I hope to correct that. There's not much to do today for me, and I was hoping that we might be able to talk it out. If you are willing to still work it out with me, you will have my afternoon.
Just your afternoon?
He stands and approaches with steps careful and wary. He treats me as if I'll take flight at any moment, and it'll be ridiculous if I don't find it even a tiny bit endearing. And when he stands before me, he takes both my hands into his, ready with a declaration.
You will have my afternoon and every moment after for the rest of your life, if you are willing.
Very careful wording. I hate it. I hate how he can easily make me fall in love with him all over again.
Just this one chance. If you don't show up, I may very well just pack my bags and go, you hear me?
Loud and clear. Off to work I go then. Until later, Buttercup.
This music in the background is just terrible. His grip is tight as he kisses my hand before letting it fall. I feel lighter in spite of it all. That leaves me the rest of the day with nothing, really. I thought I'll have to spend it making plans to leave this house and him. But instead he has me worrying and feeling relieved at the same time. It is quite paradoxical. I still have plans to eschew everything and everyone until the afternoon, which is proving to be quite difficult as everywhere I look, Johann seems to appear out of thin air. I love our butler, along with his wonderful husband and 2 darling children, but he never seems to understand the concept of privacy or personal space at the worst of times. The man is often quiet, even while he works, and I can forget that he's there with no trouble. It's the principle of things, however.
What are you doing?
He's told me to look after you. This isn't going to turn out well, you know.
He tries.
Pardon?
You should just leave. If I were you, I'd left a long time ago. You have the choice to do so, you know.
This always hurts so much, seeing how much Johannes cares for Hannah. Like, ugh. He's a stone-cold killer, and yet he's like, you should go. Please. See between the lines, I'm saying.
Not everyone does.
Is that what you've been stalking me all morning for? To tell me to leave my husband?
It is not going to turn out well, meine Freundin.
Looking back at Johannes, I see his usually indifferent expression painted with concern. He still stands tall, and his body betrays no emotion. But his mouth is set into a grim, harsh line, and there is a slight furrow in his brow. Curious and minute details that one won't find unless they care to look. And these little things trouble me. Still, if he believes that I will leave when Luke has extended an olive branch to me, well, he's wrong.
And that's your opinion, Johannes. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to be left alone with my thoughts, please.
If you'd like privacy, I suggest finding it somewhere else then. Somewhere outside the house, maybe?
I'm going to my room. Tell Luke that I'll be waiting for him there.
I'd really rather not.
That's an order, Johannes.
The remaining hours pass with little fanfare as my wish to be alone is respected. I only see Johannes again when he brings me my supper. He made her favorite. Because I'm going through this like faster and I've done this a while now, and I was struggling to say bouillabaisse, I'm like, it's her favorite. It's one of the things she likes. He made it for her. Well, I salute you, Johannes. Bouillabaisse, along with squid ink brioche, something that I haven't requested, but I'm grateful nonetheless. And once more after that, to clear my plates away and inform me that Luke is back home.
Honey, I'm home.
Not that I would have missed that. Hearing him call for me fills me with a certain dread for reasons I can't comprehend. Perhaps I am just nervous about this little talk of ours. Yet something at the back of my head is nagging at me. It is irrational, but I feel myself freeze in trepidation. I have to will myself to breathe when I am conscious of the fact that I've been holding it in.
Darling, love, Buttercup, why aren't you answering?
It is with unease that I answer.
Upstairs, Luke!
There is a moment when I am nothing but a bundle of nerves. His footsteps echo from the hallway, and the creak of the door sends chills down my spine.
Here I am expecting a warm welcome home, and here you are locked up in the room like a shut-in. Oh, Hannah, what am I to do with you? You're looking a little bit pale. Are you all right?
I must have had something funny, actually. Maybe from the party last night. Maybe breakfast or lunch.
Is it the bouillabaisse or the brioche?
Johannes had been acting really strangely while you were gone. Do you think?
Do I think what? That he poisoned you? Don't be silly. He wouldn't do such a thing unless I tell him to.
He jokes and laughs. That does nothing to ease my nausea and only makes my stomach churn even more. I try to smile and laugh along, but I cannot put on a fake face this time. Noticing my discomfort, he pulls me into his arms. In his hold, I feel safe. Or I should be, at least. But there's still a stirring restlessness inside me.
Don't you worry. If you are sick, I'll take care of you myself. I did tell you that you'll have my afternoon and every moment after for as long as you live, didn't I? I am just so worried about my poor wifey. That Rochelle woman had some nerve. And I've insulted your honor so. My poor wifey has been through so much.
It is when I feel his hold turn painfully tight that the dread turns into fear.
My poor, spoiled wifey, Hannah fucking Evans. Silver spoon in her mouth, never had to lift a finger in her goddamn life. Poor wifey trying to ruin everything for me. All that I've worked so hard for. She'll just take it all away. Just like that. We've got to fix that. You know, you and I, we have to make sure you don't pull a dodgy stunt like the one you did last night. Even if we have to take you out of the picture permanently.
It is as he presses something sharp to my back that I realize far, far too late what he holds in his hands.
Why are you doing this?
My life is in his hands, held hostage at a knife's edge.
Because, Hannah, darling, it's never enough.
That sprite of Luke's always terrifying.
I want it all.
And he wishes to end it. Does he not love me anymore? Has our ties eroded so badly that he'll even go this far? This is preposterous, surreal. Yet here I am, frozen in his embrace while he holds a knife to my back. The very man I loved and trusted the most is the one to kill me. And sadly enough, this is the longest he's held me in a long while. It is a contradiction, both beautiful and horrific. How did it come to this?
You don't have to do this. You can still have it all, Luke. Just please. Don't you love me?
That makes him pause.
Oh, I still do, Hannah. I do love you. But you're outliving your usefulness. In fact, you're becoming a pain in the arse, just like your dear old dad. Now I'm doing you a favor, and you'll be with him again. Real soon.
Dignity and grace is forgotten as I become a blubbering mess, begging to be spared. Please spill from my lips prayers to Luke for his mercy, because please, I don't want to go. I'm not ready to go. I still want a family, our family, and I want to do more. I can't help but cry about the things that could have, should have been, a husband, children, and a home. But I am going to be cut short. My pleading falls on deaf ears. And although I don't feel it immediately, the way he loosens his hold on me says as much. There is no pain at first, only shock until a dull throbbing radiates from my back. It's like an itch that I can't reach, which gets worse and worse until it is all I can focus on. I panic as the pain becomes too much to bear, and I wish nothing else but for death to consume me now. My body spasms, trembling and shaking, and the pain fires up anew when Luke, the monster, twists the knife deeper. Breathing is next to impossible. Every time I try, it only feels like I'm drowning. Soon enough, I taste blood on my tongue like copper, yet both salty and sweet. And here I am, laughing like a bloody loon, though my laughter is nothing more but a wet, raspy chuckle. Slowly, I am losing myself.
What's so funny?
Deeper and deeper yet. He starts laughing.
We would have been so beautiful.
I drown in his laughter. Oh, look at that. We got a memory fragment. Oh, well, that's playing in the background. Before leaving for work, Luke begged his wife for another chance and promised she'd have his time for the rest of her life. Hearing this, Hannah was smitten all over again. Yet Johans was seen trailing the lady throughout the day, which made Hannah very uncomfortable. And when Luke finally returned home, he... Alright, well, that happened.